Homework number 4, factoring quadratic equations, part 2. So first we want to label. So a is equal to 3, b is equal to negative 2, and c is equal to negative 5. Up top, a times c, so 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. On bottom it's just b, so negative 2. So you have to ask yourself what two things multiply to negative 15, but when you add them, it gives you negative 2. And from our factors list, it's 3 and 5 has to be with the one that's negative. So since a is not 1, that means we have to do this by grouping. So the first term, 3p squared, the last term, minus 5, and now we just put those two numbers that we just found from the x method in the middle. So plus 3p minus 5p. Now we could do by grouping, so we're going to group these two. So now let's look at the first group. So 3p squared and 3p, a common factor for both is a 3 and a p. So if we factor out a 3p from both, we get p and we get 1. Now from the second set of parentheses, negative 5p and minus 5, we factor out a negative 5. So factor out a negative 5, so then we're going to get p plus 1. You factor out a p plus 1 from both, and we get 3p minus 5 times p plus 1. Number 2, a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to negative 9. Up top, a times c, so 2 times negative 9, negative 18. On the bottom is b for 3. So two things that multiply to negative 18, but when added gives you 3. So based on my factors list, that looks to be 3 and 6. And that means the 3 has to be the one that's negative, because negative 3 plus 6 is 3. So a is not equal to 1. So then we have first term, 2n squared, the last term, minus 9, and then our middle terms from our x method chart, negative 3n plus 6n. We group them. So from the first set of parentheses, we can factor out an n only. So 2n minus 3. From the last set of parentheses, we can factor out a 3 from the 6 and the 9. So if we factor out a positive 3, we get 2n minus 3. So now we can factor out a 2n minus 3 from both, so we get n plus 3, and then 2n minus 3. And there's our factor. Number 3, a is 3, b is negative 8, and c is 4. So on the top, a times c is 3 times 4, which is 12, and on the bottom, it's negative 8. Okay, two things that multiply to 12, but when added gives you negative 8. That is negative 2 and negative 6. A does not equal to 1, so that means we need to write the first term, which is 3n squared, and the last term, which is plus 4. And then our negative 2 and negative 6 go in the middle. So negative 2n and minus 6n. So group. We can factor out an n from the first one, so n, 3n minus 2. And from the last set of parentheses, we can factor out a negative 2. So negative 2 add a 3n minus 2. Factor out a negative 2 because anytime this one, you guys, is a negative, we want to factor out a negative from that. So it's positive. So notice 3n minus 2 is for in both parentheses. So that means we can factor both of those out. So then we get the leftovers n minus 2 and then 3n minus 2. Okay, groovy. 4. All right, a is 5, b is 19, and c is 12. So on top, you guys want to multiply your a and your c. So our a is 5 and our c is 12. So a is not 1. So that means we need to do it by grouping. So first term, which is 5n squared, the last term, which is plus 12. So The two middle terms come from 4 and 15, so plus 4n and plus 15n. Let's group these. So from the first grouping, we can factor out an n. So all that's left is 5n plus 4. And from the second grouping, we can factor out a 3 from both 15 and 12. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now we can factor out a 5n plus 4 from both. So then we just get the leftovers, n plus 3 times 5n plus 4. Number 5. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 11, and C is equal to 5. Up top, 8 times C is 2 times 5, which is 10. On the bottom, it's B, which is 11. Two things that multiply to 10 but add together gives us 11. That is going to be 10 and 1. So, A is not equal to 1, so that means we've got to do it by grouping. 2v squared plus the last term, and the middle terms, it's what we found in the x method, so 10v plus 1v, but you guys know 1v is just v, so we're just going to put a v. Grouping. From the first one, we can factor out a 2v from both 2v squared and 10v. So factor out a 2v, we get v plus a 5. And then now, do you guys see the v plus 5 for the second set of parentheses? The only thing you can factor out from both of those is just a 1. So plus 1, v plus 5. Factor out a v plus 5 from both, so we get 2v plus 1 times v plus 5. Marvelous. Very good. Halfway through. Okay, 6. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 5, and C is equal to 2. A times C on top is 2 times 2, which is 4, and on the bottom it's B for 5. Now, two things that multiply to 4, but when added gives you guys 5. That is 4 and 1. So A does not equal to 1, so that means we got to write the first term, the last term, put the two terms we just found in the middle of these. So 1n, you guys, is just n. Group. So things we can factor out from the first set of parentheses. You can factor out a 2 and an n from both of those. So 2n, factor out a 2n from 2n squared, you're just left with n. Factor out a 2n from 4n, and you're just left with 2. N plus 2, you can only factor out a 1. So now factor out an n plus 2 from both, so you guys get 2n plus 1 times n plus 2. Okay, 7. A is equal to 7, B is equal to 53, and C is equal to 28. Okay, up top, A times C, that looks to be 196, and on the bottom, it is our B value, which is 53. So there's the factor list. So based off the factor list, which two numbers multiply to 196, but when added gives you 53. And that looks to be 4 and 49. Since A is not 1, put this into, we got a factor by grouping. So write the first term, write the last term. Put the ones you just found in the x method in the middle. So plus 4a plus 49a. Group them, factor. So from the first set of parentheses, you can factor out only an a from both. So factor out an a from 7a squared, you get 7a. Factor out an a from 4a, you could just get 4. Now from the second set of parentheses, you can factor out a 7 from 49 and 28. So plus 7. 49, factor out a 7, you just get 7a. Factor out 27 from 28, and you get 4. Factor out a 7a plus 4 from both, and you get the leftovers, so a plus 7, and then 7a plus 4. Okay, number 10. A is 5, B is negative 18, and C is 9. A times C up top, so 5 times 9 is 45. On the bottom, so it's negative 18. Okay. Two things I multiply to 45, but when added gives you negative 18. So based off the chart, it looks to be 3 and 15, and both of those are negative. So A is not equal to 1, which means we got to write the first term, last term, and then put the ones we found in the x method in the middle. So group them. From the first set of parentheses, you can only factor out an x, so we get 5x minus 3. And from the second set of parentheses, you can factor out a negative 3. So factor out a negative 3. Negative 15 divided by negative 3, 5x. Negative 3 divided by 9, negative 3. Now we can factor out a 5x minus 3 from both of them, so we get x minus 3 and 5x minus 3. Okay, last two. 11. A is 4, B is negative 15, and C is negative 25. So A times C up top, so 4 times negative 25 is negative 100. On the bottom, it's just B, so negative 15. Okay, so two things that multiply to negative 100, but when added gives you negative 15. And that is negative 20 and 5. Since A is not 1, you guys write the first term and the last term. And then we put the two numbers we just found in the x method in the middle. So negative 20n and 5n. Okay, so we group these. So from the first set of parentheses, we can factor out a 4 from both 4 and 20 and an n. So 4n, we get n minus 5. Second parenthesis, factor out a 5 from 5 and negative 25. So plus 5, we get n minus 5. Factor out a n minus 5 from both, so we get 4n plus 5 times n minus 5. Last one. A is equal to 4, B is equal to negative 35, and C is equal to 49. 49 times 4 is 196, and the bottom is negative 35. So I'm going to copy and paste this, you guys, because that's the factors from that, really. So I'm going to bring that down. Okay, so two things that multiply to 196, but when added gives you negative 35, and that looks to be if we added negative 7 and negative 28 together. A is not 1, so then we get first term, write down the last term, and then the middle is just negative 7x minus 28x. Group. First set of parentheses, factor out an x, so we get 4x minus 7, and second set of parentheses, you can factor out a negative 7. So we get 4x minus 7. Factor out 4x minus 7 from both, and we get voila. So that's the rest of that. Hopefully you guys finish up, and good luck, okay? Ask questions in class if you have any questions. Peace.